Hi guys, it's been 3 weeks since my last video, and my last video did pretty good. Ignore the makeup. We're gonna pretend like I didn't do this today, but it is in theme with what I'm planning on doing for today. But anyways, about my last video, it's got like 150 views now, which I think is absolutely crazy. I'm very, very proud of it. If you haven't watched it yet, I did a lot of research for it, so I would really appreciate if you watched it. But welcome back. Anyway, sorry that this is a little bit late. I've literally handed in my dissertation today. I'm basically done with my 3rd year of uni nearly. I've also had a lab report to do for forensics. It's the first assignment I've ever had to get an extension for, so been quite busy. So it's been a bit hectic, which is why I'm a little bit late on this video. And not too late, it's not too bad, I've had bigger gaps. But anyways, enough dilly-dallying. I thought I would cover something today that I've been really interested in since I was a teenager. I actually did this topic for my English language speaking exam at GCSE level. When you do GCSEs in England, you have to do a presentation as an English speaking exam just to show that you know how to do a presentation and can speak in front of a group of people, basically. I loved Fruits magazine as a teenager. I've still got this really big, like this thick book collection. You might be able to see it in the background of some of my old videos. Today we are talking about, in case you can't tell by my makeup, which was inspired by Ayutama from Black Diamond, which is a GYARU music group. I'll put a link in the description for the video that I tried to replicate on my own face. I made a few adjustments, obviously, for my own features and for my own makeup preferences. So today we are going to be talking about Japanese street fashion specifically. It's been a topic that's fascinated me for years. I've always found it really interesting. I don't know, that I just think it's really interesting how this country that's quite conservative and quite held back can produce such avant-garde and strange looking makeup styles and clothing styles. So I thought I would cover that today, which is why I look absolutely insane right now. I've done some GYARU makeup, like I said. I've not done an amazing job of it. I think I should have done a bit more eyeshadow stuff because I feel like there's a huge gap here and my lashes aren't. These are huge lashes, but I don't think they're big enough for the GYARU style, so I think I need some bigger lashes somehow. I might have to go on Amazon and get some 25mm ones because these don't seem to be big enough, and they're pretty big lashes, right? To be fair, this is my first time doing GYARU style makeup. So to get started, as a general definition, Japanese street fashion is basically what's cool with the kids in Japan at different periods of time. Quite a few overlap during certain time periods, quite a few have carried on to this day. The actual definition is a number of styles of contemporary modern clothing in Japan. Basically, Japanese drip. I'm going to be running through some of the different categories and characteristics, so let's get started. So we're going to start off, obviously, to be appropriate, with GYARU. GYARU, which literally translates to gal, is the style that I'm wearing now, that I'm trying to go for right now, and actually has a little bit of controversy behind it. It was originated from an American jeans brand in the early 70s called Lee. They made a line of jeans styles called gals, or GYARU. It's based on Western beauty standards, actually, with a mix of some of the Japanese ones into a big girly twist, which is why we've all got the long nails, the really big dramatic makeup, the really big puffy hair, the tanned skin, pinky clothing, cutesy accessories and stuff like that. There's actually a name for this style of hair, and it's called Sujimori. I am really sorry for my pronunciation for any of this if it's absolutely poo. If anyone who is Japanese is watching my video, which I'd be very surprised. My pronunciation isn't fabulous. I do not really speak much Japanese at all, but Sujimori style is the traditional GYARU style of hair, which is usually big, puffy, curly, maybe in pigtails, usually like a big updo, you know, like a really, like imagine the early Dolly Parton wigs that are really big and dramatic and have this huge bump and lots of volume and curls, and very blonde. I hope you lot can hear that. Anyways, so yeah, they tend to have really long nails. I'll put a few photo examples to the side, obviously. And the girl whose video that I watched, that I mentioned earlier, she has these giant nails, and they are so big that at the end of the video, when she can't get her hair clips in, one of the like staff who's filming has to help her put the clips in. They also have big 90s style space boots, you know, the ones that are kind of coming back into fashion. Large Japanese eye makeup like this. This is quite extreme for GYARU makeup. There's lots of different variations of the GYARU makeup, but the general rule of GYARU makeup is really big accentuated eyes and lashes, little to no brow, more or less. I mean, this is probably the least amount of brow I've ever worn besides my natural brows. Usually really extreme contour, but I haven't done an amazing job of that. And I've also added a lot of glitter because, you know, they like their glitters, and it's very girly pop is what I'm saying. It's very girly pop. They also really enjoy luxury and haute couture brands like Juicy Couture and things like that, you know, like Louis Vuitton, maybe Gucci, things like that. Quite a lot of them actually, quite a lot of famous GYARUs actually have their own makeup and fashion clothing brands. I'll put a few examples at the side. It's seen as a mixture. Sorry, it's so loud outside. I live right across from the O2 in Liverpool, so if you hear any screaming in the background, it's because people have just got out of a concert and they're screaming their heads off at each other. I don't know who's on tonight, but can you be quiet? I've got a YouTube video to film. It's seen as a mixture of Western and Eastern beauty standards and styles. One style that I used to partake in high school, I don't have any pictures, but I did used to do this in high school, and it did get me picked on a little bit, but it's called Joshikoko GYARU or Kokyaru, which literally means high school GYARU. It tends to be when girls wear really big puffy socks, long and scrunched up school socks. I thought it looked really cool, but the number of kids who would point out my socks and go, "What is wrong with you?" If only you saw me now, girl. It's gotten worse. It gets worse. It also involves shorter skirts, dyed hair, lots of makeup, basically anything to break the rules of a high school dress code, which I would do notoriously. I used to dye my hair all the time in high school. I used to do it red a lot. And I used to wear a lot of makeup. There was actually one altercation in high school I had where I was in my tutorial group, and one of the girls was being told off for a dress code violation and about her makeup, and he was like, "Your makeup's too much, your eyelashes are too big." And I didn't used to wear eyelashes in high school, but I had really thick, like, emo eyeliner. I was a proper little emo in high school. And she literally went, "Well, Leah wears all that makeup and she never gets told off, and Leah does this and Leah wears her makeup like that and she never gets anything." And it was like, why'd you have to bring me into this? I could have shown up to high school looking like this, but I didn't, so count your blessings. Mamba, I think that's how you say it. It's probably the type of GYARU that most people recognise, you know, the short skimpy outfits, very dramatic and big eye makeup and hair like this, very, very dark tan, edging on blackface, edging on minstrel show, borderline. It's pretty iconic besides the very, very dark tan, but you've got to remember this GYARU style peaked in the 90s and the 2000s due to the rise of Fruits magazine popularity, was a little bit punk if you think about it. It kind of went against the traditional beauty standards in Japan for women at the time of being very pale, being very thin, very modestly dressed, having tiny, short, black hair, very neat black hair, no curls, completely straight. I think GYARU looks really cool, but that's just me. I can't stop looking at myself. I don't know if it's a conceit thing or just because I'm trying to figure out whether this looks good or not, because I can't figure it out. But anyways, the controversy that comes from GYARU is to do with the dark tan, like I said earlier. It's something that's only recently really been spotted and called out because, like I said at the time, it peaked during the 90s and 2000s where things like blackface were kind of just brushed to the side and seen as a thing of the past. No one brought it up. No one really acknowledged anything like that. So, don't worry, I didn't really darken my skin tone for this. I mean, I have a little bit, but that's because the foundation that I use, to be fair, is darker than I normally am. You can see it in my other videos, to be honest, and I did contour the out of my face, so I'm looking a bit orange, but it's to fit with the GYARU style. I don't look like a different race, I hope, or at least I hope people don't think that. As just a bit of a disclaimer on the end of this GYARU section, I don't want this to come off as offensive, me being in GYARU. I don't want this to come off as something that I'm ridiculing. I'm not ridiculing the style. I've tried to copy the style the best that I can and recreate it in my own way. It's coming from a place of real love and appreciation and a lot of study and a lot of observation into the GYARU style, and I've done what I can with what I have. This isn't a means to ridicule or as like, you know, a form of cheap entertainment. This is meant to genuinely educate people on some of the different styles of fashion that were popular that have been popular in Japan over the past few decades, because I think it's really interesting. All I'm saying is I don't want this to come off as me ridiculing GYARU or any Japanese street fashion style. I'm just talking about them and making a video because it's what I like and what I find interesting. I think Japanese street style and fashion is really interesting, and that's all I'm going to say on that. The next one we're going to discuss is called DECORA. DECORA is basically what it says on the tin. Lots of bright accessories, such as hair clips, bracelets, braces on the teeth, rings, earrings. DECORA can come off as a little bit childish due to the bright colours and the accessories and the focus on childish mascots such as SpongeBob, Disney characters, Hello Kitty, things like that. But personally, I think DECORA looks adorable and can be done really well by some people. Oh my god, all I can hear is horns honking, people screaming. I don't know if the world's ended while I've been filming this, but all I can hear is people screaming on the street. DECORA originated in the 90s, like a majority of Japanese street fashion does, and is commonly linked to the Japanese idol called Tomoe Shinohara. DECORA can be seen pretty frequently on Fruits magazine, and it's still practiced to this day. In fact, if you find people who wear DECORA on things like TikTok and Instagram, they tend to get a lot of ridicule. They'll be found on cringe accounts on Instagram, you know, that'll repost like cringy TikToks, which is a shame, but I can understand why people are quite apprehensive of something like DECORA because it does visually look very intense and very abnormal. I like it personally. DECORA, people who dress in DECORA are also known to decorate their phones, usually flip phones, because we've got to remember this came around in the 90s and 2000s when flip phones were all the rage, so they decorate them with stickers and them dangly little keychains that you could put on your flip phones. I wanted one of them so bad when I got my first flip phone, but I could never find one that I liked. This decoration of phones is called dekoden. I think dekoden? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but the type of DECORA that a lot of people associate with classic DECORA, the bright colours and the rainbows, is called hadeko. It's called HARAJUKU, with the focus on rainbows, lots of bright colours, but some monochromatic styles of DECORA also exist, such as kuro DECORA, which is black DECORA, and pink DECORA. Just had a coughing fit. The next one is Visual Kei. Visual Kei, also called VK, is one of the oldest Japanese street styles that is still somewhat worn to this day, in my opinion, from what I've observed of Japanese culture in the modern era. It originated in the early 80s and is commonly worn by Japanese glam rock, goth, rock, metal, and electronic bands. Such as the Gazette and Dir Grey. I really like those two bands, and if you watch their music videos, you'll understand exactly what Visual Kei is. It consists of dark colours like black, blood red, dark purples, blues, and it is a little bit controversial in Japan because it's one of the only styles worn primarily by men, and it makes them look effeminate, so they look a bit feminine presenting, due to the focus on very dramatic makeup and very large, flamboyant and usually multicoloured hair, and it's crossovers with styles like Lolita, which are typically seen as feminine. We'll talk about Lolita later, don't you worry. It's almost like the exact opposite of GYARU, if you think about it, in the way that it focuses on dark and flamboyant styles, as well as the focus on very pale skin, in comparison to GYARU's focus on tan skin and feminine clothing and lighter colours normally. There are lots of different types of Visual Kei, like there is Iroyu Kei, which focuses on adding medical elements to the Visual Kei style, such as syringes, nurses' outfits, lab coats, eye patches, things like that.
When he wrote Uncut Gems.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like things like that.
Kotike is seen as the oldest and the most classic version of Visual Kei. It's the one that you stereotypically think of if you know what Visual Kei is. And it draws a lot of similarities with Western glam rock, like Kiss, Queen, Ghost. It's mostly used by rock bands, Japanese rock bands, and tends to be very glamorous and flamboyant, like I said earlier. Tambike is similar to steampunk, which is the Western style of Victorian clothing, and it twists Victorian and Georgian style clothing, such as waistcoats, big decorated hats, things like that. And it tends to take these like ruffles and things like that and just make it a bit more grungy and a bit more rocky and a bit more glam rock. Visual Kei is quite a classic in my opinion. You don't see it as much in the Fruits magazines as things like GYARU or Lolita or DECORA, but it's still fairly common, especially for people who are musicians in Japan. The next one we're going to talk about is Lolita. Lolita originated in the 70s, but only really started to become popular in the 90s, and tends to focus on very girly and childlike Victorian styles of clothing, with a focus on colours like pink and white, pastels, ruffles, tulle, hoop skirts, petticoats, bows, ribbons, high and frilly socks, long hair, big dolly eyes, and very dolly and cutesy makeup. Lolita has a lot of controversy behind it due to not only the link with the very controversial book, which we all know about, but it also has links to the DDLG community. I'm not going to explain what that is. If you need to know what that is, look it up. I'm not explaining it on this channel. I probably could because I don't make money off of my YouTube channel, but I refuse to speak those words in this Christian household. Because of the links with the DDLG community and the fact that it's based off of young and childlike aesthetics, it causes people to say that Lolita is hypersexualizing young girls. However, the reason for the name Lolita is not named off the book. It's actually based off of Alice in Wonderland. When Alice in Wonderland, the storybook, came to Japan, a lot of people started to describe Alice, the titular character, as a Lolita, which basically just meant, you know, a young girl in a frilly outfit. I wouldn't agree with the idea that it hypersexualizes young girls at all, really. But I can get where people are coming from. Yeah, I wouldn't agree with this because can whoever's honking their horn for the past half an hour pack it in? All I've heard for the past half an hour is this outside honking his horn. Stop it! I wouldn't agree with the point that I wouldn't agree that Lolita sexualizes children, or young girls specifically. Because dresses themselves and women wearing clothes are not inherently sexual. That's a fact. Women wear fabric sometimes, okay? I know it's a surprise to some of you, but women do be wearing fabric sometimes. And as a purely fashion-based statement, it is not sexual at all. It can be twisted into being sexual with the links towards the DDLG community, like I stated earlier, and that's where all the controversy comes from with Lolita. But I'd say that's a very minor controversy. It's not a big worry because a lot of the people who are rational and not insane and dress in Lolita are very nice people. I'm actually on the Lolita subreddit on Reddit, weirdly enough, and there are some very nice girlies and gays and theys over there. Lolita has a lot of different subcultures. It's probably got the most subcultures out of any of the ones I've mentioned, really. Maybe. Such as Gothic Lolita, which is just a mixture of, well, Gothic and Lolita. Duh. Sweet Lolita is a bit more whimsical and bright compared to the classic Lolita that tends to lean towards more classic Victorian colour palettes like browns and muted pastels and earthy tones. Lolita is fairly well known and it's practiced all around the world. I remember when I was a teenager, I think I watched a Vice documentary about Lolita in Amsterdam. So it's not just a Japanese phenomenon anymore, it has spread pretty much globally because of how cute it is. The next one isn't necessarily a style, but just a label for trends. It's HARAJUKU. HARAJUKU is not necessarily a style, but it is a generalized label for the trends of the Harajuku area of Tokyo, known for very bright and flashy colours in general. It's quite a colourful area of Tokyo. It's often described as a conglomeration of multiple different styles, but is usually related to DECORA and Y2K, Lolita, GYARU, and more. Why did I choose to film at this time? I have had nearly all day to film this video, and I've chosen now when everyone's going me. As I was saying, Harajuku tends to encompass anything that you'll really find in a fruits magazine, like I said, and will be pretty representative of the Harajuku lifestyle. What am I talking about? Harajuku tends to be focused on accessories, similar to how DECORA focuses on accessories, but it tends to be a bit more cohesive rather than a bit of a kind of all over the place. It tends to be a bit more cohesive and a bit more normal in comparison with things like DECORA. Overall, Harajuku is meant to be a bit of a middle finger towards regular Japanese cities in a way, if you think about it. Similar to GYARU, it's kind of a way of saying we can be really bright and colourful and fun and have everyone dressed really weird while you lot all go and do your boring office jobs and be miserable on the subway. The next one is KAWAII. KAWAII, which we all know by this point translates to cute, is also a fashion style. It started in the 70s as a fun style of handwriting and then started to be used as a descriptive for an aesthetic style in the 90s and 80s and tends to incorporate childlike attributes like pinks and pastels, bows, round and cutesy faces, big eyes, cute merchandise like Hello Kitty. Kawaii is a bit more of an umbrella term, similar to Harajuku. It can cover a wide range of subcultures. It's similar to Lolita in a way because of the focus on cutesy, pinky bows, but it's a bit more modern than Lolita is, I'd say. It doesn't focus on Victorian style clothing. It just generally focuses on modern cutesy things like Hello Kitty and pink. Doesn't necessarily have a specific dress code or a way of dressing, but it definitely has a bit more of a modern flair compared to Lolita. Similar to Lolita, it has a bit of a controversy with the kawaii aesthetics commonly being attributed to young girls, aka children, and is also commonly used by women as a method of attracting men in Japan. It even has a name. It's called boriko, and boriko means a girl who is putting on a bit of a cutesy voice and appearance in an inauthentic manner, in a forced manner, just purely for the attention of men. Ew. And it's the Japanese version of a pick-me, kind of. Big ick, vom, ew, gross. It also has a controversial link to the whole thing around surgeries in Asia, due to the debate around double eyelid surgery and how commonly it's pushed on Asian women, which is another topic for another day. I am obviously not an Asian woman, so my opinions on that are very sparse from the sparse knowledge that I have, but I do know that things like double eyelid surgery are very considered and are commonly pushed on people who partake in some of these fashion styles just to fit in. Kawaii is, like I said earlier, a very broad term. It's a bit of an umbrella term for anything seen as cute and feminine. So DECORA, Lolita and Kimo can fall under this umbrella term in a way. There are two primary styles that I grew up knowing of kawaii. That's yume and yami. Yami is sickly cute, which means it tends to focus on like the medical side, like with visual kei. So things like eye patches that are in pink, blood that's in pink, reddy pink eyeshadows to make you look like you're tired, kind of thing. Cutesy medicine. Looking sick but cute. And then yume kawaii is dreamy kawaii, so it's quite floaty and cute and cloudy, and you know what I mean, like imagine a marshmallow on a cloud. It's that kind of cute. It's very broad. Like I said, this video is very short. I only wanted to do just a quick one to get back into the routine of doing a YouTube video because I haven't filmed one in a while and I really wanted to film something, but I have so many topics that I want to cover, so I didn't know what to talk about. But that's the video for today. It's really simplistic. Like I said, I just wanted to educate a few people on some of the Japanese street fashion styles that I've become accustomed to and that I really enjoy, and show you the characteristics, give you some examples, give you the history and background, give you some of the subcultures, things like that. So if you have watched this, thank you a lot. I think my next video might be on South Park. Like I said in my last video, I've been really obsessed with South Park recently. I've been rewatching it. I've been catching up with the newest season. The newest season has been so good. And I've also recently finished The Fractured Butthole in its entirety, the video game, not what you're thinking. I played the DLC and everything and it was great. So maybe I'll do like a game review for that game because I really enjoyed it. If you have watched this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you like and subscribe, you know the usual drill. I'll come to your house and I'll give you a warm glass of milk with some cookies or a vegan alternative milk and cookies. And please go follow my Tumblr, my Instagram. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know it's short and sweet, or at least I hope it's short and sweet. Right now I've 34 minutes into recording this. I don't know what I've been talking about for like the past 34 minutes, but my script is only 1,500 words. How have I blabbed for this long? Anyways, I think I've just missed talking to you guys and just the two people that watch my videos, and just enjoyed blabbing for the past few minutes and doing my makeup again really stupidly. Yeah, thank you so much for watching if you have. Yeah, bye bye.